Welcome to Sonata She Wrote. This is another episode of our show within a show, an examination of the music and text of Schubert's song cycle Die schöne Müllerin. Today's song, Am Feierabend, translated by Susan Youens as Day's Work is Done, we might also say Quitting Time. The music starts with heavy hammer blows in the piano, which you've just heard, but quickly changes into energetic scales and then a return of the water, darker and more energetic this time, moving through the mill wheel. Our miller has been at work all day, and boy oh boy, does he have some feelings to share.
Hätt ich 1000 Arme zu rühren, könnt ich brausend die Räder führen, könnt ich wählen durch alle Heide, könnt ich drehen alle Steine, dass die schöne Müllerin merkte meinen treuen Sinn, dass die schöne Müllerin merkte meinen treuen Sinn.
Maybe it's because of my own past, working jobs in restaurant kitchens or warehouses, but the miller is giving me the vibe of that coworker who constantly brags about how much work they're doing and how they never take a break. Or, even worse, the miller knows he isn't that person, but wishes he were. In his mind, the schöne Müllerin will notice and love him. Schubert emphasizes this delusion, the miller's fantasy of the Müllerin noticing his true love, merkte meinen treuen Sinn, ends with a PAC on an A major chord, but reality comes sweeping back in immediately as A minor is quickly reestablished. The thundering bass line, especially as it would have sounded on a forte piano, much more twang and much less tone, simulates the thudding of hammers or the dropping of various sacks of flour or what have you. Give me a break. I never worked at a mill. This song is the first so far in the cycle which showcases two radically different moods from the miller. Our next section uses the opening chords of the song to transform from work to faint words of praise from the master.
Wie ist mein Arm so schwach, was ich hebe, was ich trage, was ich schneide, was ich schlage, jeder Knappe tut mir's nach, jeder Knappe tut mir's nach. Und da sitz ich in der großen Runde, in der stillen, kühlen Feierstunde, der Meister spricht zu allen, euer Werk hat mir gefallen, euer Werk hat mir gefallen. Und das liebe Mädchen sagt allen eine gute Nacht, allen eine gute Nacht.
The B section is comprised of 3 episodes. First, the miller sings of the tiredness of his arm, and how his physical prowess is at the level of an apprentice. At the time, that would have been a young boy, perhaps 12 to 15. Schubert emphasizes his desire with this cartoonishly active vocal line full of upward leaps. The miller is revealing something of himself here, which Schubert is emphasizing. When the miller assumes that Die schöne Müllerin will be more attracted to him if he can work harder or is stronger, he is partially revealing what he himself values. Wit? Humor? A biting critique of capitalism? No. Our young miller can only think of power in the form of physical strength. In the second of these 3 episodes, the workers of the mill gather in a circle. When previously the miller had been active, now all the activity is in the piano, fully modulated to C major, perhaps highlighting the miller's loss of agency in the group where he is a newcomer. In the third episode, the master speaks ponderously around F major chords, and Schubert puts the bass into the extreme depths of the pianoforte's register. This low F would have been its lowest note at the time. The Miller's recounting of the master speaking shows that, rather than rage and defiance toward a man who is stealing the surplus of his own labor, feels only overawed. The final section ends with the Müllerin saying goodnight. But the Miller's disappointment is heard in that she says goodnight to them all, rather than just him. Again, the vocalist Randall Scarlata is doing an amazing job portraying this rage as he aggressively launches back into the opening stanzas.
Und das liebe Mädchen sagt allen eine gute Nacht, allen eine gute Nacht. Hätt ich 1000 Arme zu rühren, könnt ich Wegen durch alle erfüllen, könnt ich wehen durch alle Haine, könnt ich drehen alle Steine, dass die schöne Müllerin merkte meinen treuen Sinn, dass die schöne Müllerin merkte meinen treuen Sinn, dass die schöne Müllerin merkte meinen treuen Sinn.
The Miller's deeply felt disappointment at what he experiences as the Müllerin's rejection propels him through this final stanza. And Schubert hammers this point home by, well, hammering. The accompaniment has now changed to the hammer blows from the introduction, which appear now as an altered bass line with the same rhythm. The repetition of this stanza is Schubert's own device. Wilhelm Müller's poem does not include this repeated portion, but ends after the episodic second stanza. This has been a quick jaunt through the fifth song Am Feierabend in this cycle. If you've just joined me for this one, be sure to go back to the beginning of the series and look at Das Wandern, which I've titled, Who is this Miller? And why is he always wandering? Up next, Der Neugierige, or The Question.